Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Rebel Crow Psychic Show with Athena Silver.
Hi, I'm Anja River.
Welcome back, everybody. So tonight, this past couple, the past 2 nights have been in full moon. Tonight is peak night. I can tell you, I know it's the full moon. Energetically, I feel the buildup every month. I don't know if any of you guys know. I have two chronic illnesses. I have rheumatoid arthritis and I have fibromyalgia. I am like a human thermometer. I could tell you when it's going to rain, when it's going to snow, how bad the atmosphere is going to be, what the humidity is going to be like,
I could just barometric pressure.
Oh, for real. Like, it's the worst. I would say, I think it might be considered a psychic ability, but it would be.
It very well could be. Very, very well could be.
But it's like, I'll wake up and I'll feel it and it's funny because sometimes I'll feel it in my knees. Sometimes I'll feel it in my back. Sometimes I feel it in my hands. But it's like, I could tell you snow's going to come when I feel it in my hands and in my feet.
That's interesting.
Rain is going to come when I feel it in my legs.
Really?
In my back.
That's weird how it's different parts of your body.
Yep.
That's cool.
And full moon, I feel the gravitational pressure just bearing down on me constantly.
Wow.
Wow. And it's always the peak day is the worst.
That's crazy. Wow. I didn't know that about you. That's so funny.
Yeah, it's something I used to do a pain journal when I first got sick. I've been sick for about 11 years now. And when I would say the first couple of years, I would do a daily pain journal. It's like typically I would write from what it was like the minute I woke up, what it was like midday and what it was like when I was getting ready for bed. And I noticed that it was weird. It was this weird trend. It was like the first 3 or 4 days leading up to the full moon, and then the 4 days after it, I always felt really crappy.
Yeah.
And I noticed like I kept describing it in the same way. And then it dawned on me, I'm like, I'm a super empath. Of course, the gravitational pull of the universe is going to make me hurt.
Well, we all feel like, varying degrees, of course, because what you feel is like, actually, it's like superhuman status. But we all feel it, like usually, especially the full moon. I think a lot of people feel the full moon. Like, what do they always talk about? Well, they always talk about like the kids get crazy and the hospitals are overrun with accidents.
Yep. And the werewolves and crazy people. Yeah, no. I used to work at a hospital and that was actually true. Especially in the emergency room. You used to get a lot of like weird accidents and a lot of people having mental issues. A lot of people forgetting their meds and stuff. And it always just like the day of the full moon and the day after were always really bad.
Right.
But
so I love following the moon cycles. So right now the full moon is in Sagittarius. I think last month it was Scorpio. Last month was really intense. It's a little, I don't know. Do you feel any variations from month to month? Like, is it exactly the same, or because each time it's in a different sign?
I notice it brings out different emotions in me. Especially like, I know that Scorpio moon was very emotional for me. I had a lot of old emotional things come up that I was like, I thought I put this to bed years ago, but apparently not.
Scorpio is great at that. Scorpio.
And hold on. I noticed that for this full moon, I feel very much empowered. I feel really strong and resilient and rock solid, and very, I would say, work creative.
That's so Sagittarius.
Yeah.
So the full moon's in Sagittarius right now. That's so Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet of luck. It's like this big grandfatherly figure. But it's about wealth, Jupiter. not necessarily Sagittarius, but they're all kind of, you know, it's interrelated. The planet that rules the sign, you know, that will have those influences. But yeah, so I think the full moon in Sagittarius is a nice lighter full moon. You know, like
it's way better than a full moon in Taurus where you're super aggressive.
actually, so the moon.
Yeah, I go on super truth telling sprees when moon is in Taurus, where I'm telling people about themselves and it's not good.
That affects you specifically because
Yes.
the moon is in its happy place when we're in Taurus. So that's where it's at home. You know?
I'm happiest telling the truth, being myself. It doesn't go well for everybody when I'm being myself, though.
So yeah, Taurus is nice. Taurus is a nice one too for me. So I guess not for you, or maybe that is nice for you to be able to speak your truth. I mean, why wouldn't that be nice? But yeah, Taurus is like, when the moon's in Taurus, it's like a homey kind of experience. Like you want to get some good food and, you know, and curl up on the couch, make your space nice, and, you know, do all these like homey things. Yeah. So what was I going to tell you about? So yeah, the moon is in Sagittarius right now, and that's fun.
So what can we
expect?
It is fun.
It is
what
fun.
can we expect with the moon being in Sagittarius now? Like, give us just a small little clip of rundown so we know what to expect.
Okay, so there's one thing that I wanted to talk about because it's very interesting. So most of the things when the moon is in Sagittarius, you know, like there's this light, free kind of a feeling, and there is, you know, like it's a good time to connect with friends. And, you know, Sagittarius is definitely speaking truth, like plain and simple truth, you know, so that's like a big theme right now. But the one really interesting thing, because it goes along with like the whole broader, you know, energy of what's happening in the world and the planet, and, you know, also planetarily, you know, speaking, astrologically speaking, is that the moon in Sagittarius is about speaking truth to power. Mm-hmm. And I find that like fascinating. When I was like, I didn't know that particular part until just recently, and I was like, oh, that's really cool, you know.
That to me, it explains a lot to me. I feel like that explains why I've been focused on work and growing, because I guess to me that's the most honest form of me.
Well, the moon only stays in each sign for 2 days. So it's not like a big, you know, like the moon being in Sagittarius is not like a big deal, you know, like it happens all the time.
No, but hey, that little extra oomph helps.
But I find it, so like there's a couple of like interesting planetary events that are happening right now. There's a ton of retrogrades right now. And I'm not going to get into all that, but the things that we, you know, that I find most personally interesting are, so we're in Mercury. Well, technically we're not in Mercury retrograde yet, but Mercury retrograde is coming. And for me personally, I've been following, you know, Mercury retrogrades and trying to study it and see how it affects my own life for about 10 years. And I can tell you, for me, without a doubt, now, please, if you guys, anybody out there who knows about Mercury retrograde and has been like absorbing how it affects you in your day-to-day, the shadow periods. So the shadow periods are like way worse than the actual retrograde itself. The shadow period, so Mercury retrograde itself starts on 6/18, goes through July 12th. The shadow periods are like 2 weeks before and after. Mm-hmm. And sometimes they're called like red days, gray days. And then there's red day, you know, there's different days, there's different colors assigned to each period of the retrograde. The shadow period is what messes me up bad. So I almost feel like it's like, so when you're talking about a retrograde in the sky, the planet looks like it's going forward, all of a sudden it stops, looks like it's traveling backwards. It's not. And then moves forward again. So the shadow period is like that transition space,
Yeah.
you know? And I feel like that's what kind of like makes it feels like kinkier, you know?
Yeah.
All kinds of things
Oh,
happen.
listen, I have the worst with shadow days and leading into retrograde. I
See
feel
my
like,
cup.
oh, I love it.
My favorite cup. It's
Oh
Mercury
my God, I love
retrograde.
it.
And
Um,
we can't bash Mercury. Like Mercury is amazing.
yeah, no,
Mercury.
I get down with Mercury, but I notice like when it goes to shadow days, like none of my electronics work. People are not understanding me the way that I want to be understood. You know,
Yeah.
I'm forgetting things. I'm feeling a little bit staticky in the head. You know,
Yeah.
like I notice, and you know, even down to some of my psychic skills, sometimes I just don't feel as on as usual around a shadow day or a full blown retrograde event with
Right.
Mercury. You know, it's like, it always leads me back to meditation. Whenever I feel like that, I feel like I got to do any kind of like chakra alignment, quantum alignment meditations, anything to get me fully back to where I need to be in the best
Yeah.
like spiritual shape and auric shape that I can be in, because that's when I feel like I can kind of combat it with my own energy.
You need to do something along those lines. I love that idea, because when the retrogrades are happening, it's like the best thing that when Mercury retrograde specifically, I feel like one of the best things that we can do is like try to slow down. But unfortunately, from my own personal experience, this is just my own personal experience, not any kind of like outside, I feel like everything hits you so much faster when Mercury is going into retrograde. So it's almost hard to like get to that place where you need to slow down, because mistakes get made more during retrograde. And
I notice I find myself saging a lot more and using sacred smoke a lot more during retrograde and the days leading up to it,
right.
especially right before it breaks. That's when it's like all that tension is getting built up, all that fragmented energy that's not supposed to be there. I'll take a bundle of sage and I'll sage my house, I'll sage myself,
Your
I'll
car,
sage
do you
my
sage
work
your car?
area. Huh?
You sage your car?
Hell
Just
yeah, I
curious.
saged my car. The one time I bought a new car and forgot to sage it, I got in an accident. I learned my
I
lesson.
remember that. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but you know what? That was karmically 100% my fault. I see it. Even though I wasn't even in the car when it got hit. Some old lady hit me and then, looked at me funny and pulled away. Didn't even
I'm
tell
glad
me.
that you see, like, so I'm not I'm not saying this from a judgmental place. I just think it's cool that you see that it was a karmic event. That's cool.
Oh, for real. It
That's
taught
cool.
me that I can't be lazy,
Mm.
forgetting to sage my car was laziness on my point, and it was also, I
Well,
think, a
was it?
combination. It was also a combination of ill will, there was a couple of people that were not happy for me, and I realized I got to ride around with an evil eye. I've got to sage my car every couple of months to make sure that it's like an oil change maintenance. You got to maintain it.
It's a full moon tonight. It's a good night to do it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's a good night in general for spiritual cleansing. Spiritual cleansing is a really dear topic to me, and I'm gonna be doing probably more than one show about it. I feel like keeping your psychic energy clean, keeping your hygiene up is like brushing your teeth and taking a bath.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping your body, yourself clean, eating the right foods, not drinking too much, not smoking too much, trying to keep yourself in good shape, because
Mm-hmm.
it affects you on a psychic level, and it affects you especially during high energy times like full moons, where
Right.
the energy is getting really concentrated. We got to be extra clean, or else it's going to affect us negatively,
Right.
like the situation with my car. I wasn't being psychically clean at that time and taking care of what's mine, and I in that way let that happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
If I was more vigilant, that would not have happened.
Mm-hmm.
But now I know I've got to stay vigilant. I got to do it with each and every possession that I feel I earn. you know.
Right.
Like I said, part of it had to do with ill will. But even with ill will, I know that I have to maintain, and be vigilant for myself,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Well, yeah, it's personal responsibility, right?
definitely. But,
Like it's just
taking
basic.
taking responsibility leads you into a more self-actualized life, and that's freedom.
Mm-hmm. We talk about freedom a lot.
I
okay.
have it tattooed on my foot in another language. And you were with me when I got that tattoo.
I forgot what it said though.
Yep.
Mine says, yeah, I won't go into
It says freedom.
Don't worry about it.
It says freedom. But yes,
so
that's
we're
how
talking
hardcore
about
freedom is.
Talking about freedom. So the other thing that kind of like mirrors like in a much, 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 much bigger way. This is like an event that's happening right now. That has been happening. It's been building up, we've been going through this transit, but it has everything to do with what's going on right now outside, in the world. And that's the Saturn-Pluto Conjunction. And so that happens.
So tell us a little bit about that and, how it's going to affect us.
It's so exciting. So it's a hard transit, obviously. Like, look at the world right now, right?
Oh, for real.
Yeah, it's a very hard transit. Saturn and Pluto are both very slow moving planets. So like, your Mercury, your Venus is also in retrograde right now. So watch out, if you're in a relationship. But Saturn and Pluto are slow moving planets. And when they are conjunct specifically, so I think this is like, don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure it's like once every 30 years that this event happens. It's big. So I found it interesting. Like something that I was reading about the Saturn-Pluto conjunction was talking about the last time that Saturn and Pluto were conjunct was during the civil rights movement. So it's like fascinating.
That makes a lot of sense.
There was a piece that I read, and I don't remember where it was, but it went through every single event that has happened during the Saturn-Pluto square, the conjunction, the opposition, and they're all
I'm pretty sure the Rodney King riots happened under the same conjunction.
That might have been a square because that was 1992. So yeah. I'm not sure that was, maybe, right? That is 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. That was 30 years ago. And then civil rights was 60
years
ago.
Just so everybody knows what we're talking about the riots that happened after the murder of Mr. Floyd. In Minneapolis.
They know what we're talking about.
Well, just in case anybody watches this later on, they know contextually what we're talking about.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay, if you're looking back. All right, yeah.
Well, listen, as two Latinas, with African descent, I think it's important for us to say, we stand with the Black Lives Matter movement. We stand with, people of this earth. We got to have love for each other as humans. And I think that that's a message that's going to come forth in this podcast is unity. But I think that what's going on with his murder is atrocious, and it explains a lot of the unrest that we're feeling right now, especially when you talk about those planet alignments. We're coming at a time where we're breaking free. We're breaking free in a lot of ways. We're using our voices. We're using, our platforms. We're trying to get out there and exact the change that we want to see. For a lot of the minorities in this country, the experience is that you're born into the level of poverty that you stay at, and that your kids are born into, and their kids are born into. And it's like, certain people, and unfortunately, the darker you are, the harder it is, to break free of that. And we gotta change the system. The system is wrong. It's been wrong the whole time. None of us had a say in any of it, and it's time for us to switch it up. You know, I think it's time for women to get involved. I think it's time for people of color to get involved. I think it's time for us to exact change through parenting our children and parenting a more conscious generation, which is another video I think we should do about conscious parenting. I think that, you know, yes, we have all these issues and we got to start sorting them out as a society, but the change got to start with us, you know?
Well, yeah.
And
So, I mean, you're exactly right, because like, what's your sphere of influence, right? You know, like if it was up to you or I or you know, millions of other people in our country, like this would be changed. But because, you know, because our sphere of influence is only so big, it's got to happen. You know, it's got to happen.
Unfortunately, when they were writing the Constitution, it was nothing but, you know, crusty white men around a table. There was no women. There were no people of color. We were not thought about as equal. And unfortunately, we are still using that document as a framework for our society.
Well, let's not get into like, is the Constitution, you know, because there's some good things about the Constitution. Like maybe we shouldn't go down this road.
No, I feel you. I get it. Maybe not. Maybe not tonight.
I want to back it up for a second, because something that you said before, I pulled this. I just saw it like earlier and I had to write it down. I saw this. This is in regards to the Saturn-Pluto Conjunction. And it's from an article from Refinery 29. And the quote is, quote, "These planets, especially in the cardinal sign of Capricorn, will force us to take action against those who aim to control us or hold us back. This is the fight." So I was like blown away, because, you know, and it's so interesting how these things feel organic within their like mirrored out there in the alignment, you know, the alignments of the planets, you know, like you feel like this is something that's just happening, and it's like, oh, okay, well, you know, this is,
listen, it's as above so below, baby girl.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
We're playing out what's the cosmic game, you know. We mirror it.
Yeah.
You know?
And you know, that brings up so many other questions about like, you know, what's free will, and you know, like all that, whatever. It's just very interesting to me. I love this stuff.
And now you know why I would want, you know, Carl Sagan at the dinner table, dead or anybody dead or alive. I got some questions.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. That's the thing. This whole thing about life, the reason we're here is to learn how to master this universe around us and within us, and how to live right and how to live in control and exact change. People don't realize that having this kind of knowledge with a spice rack and a simple white candle, you can move mountains. You know, you can put yourself on a course towards success, you know, with a little bit of allspice and some cinnamon. And, you know, change up your game. You know, this is something that our ancestors have done and known and figured out, and we're just inheriting this knowledge and bringing it forth, you know.
Right.
It's about, you know, survival and using what you got to get what you need, you know. And we've been doing this since we came out of Africa, you know, in the cradle of life. You know, the first human beings, whatever was around us, we use it and we adapt it and we turn it into something different. And very early on, they realized that these simple ingredients, these, you know, dried herbs or these fresh herbs and, you know, these animal bones, that they can actually, you know, tap into another side of reality that we don't see on the daily, you know, by singing this song or drumming this beat, or even closing our eyes and using our imaginations, can bring us to a place that we don't see on the daily, you know, a place of understanding, a deeper understanding. And, you know, I think it's been lost along the way, and it's a skill that some of us, we gotta tap back into, you know, for species and survival. You know, it's on a grand scale.
Yeah.
But yeah, it starts with you. It starts with what you're doing, how you're living, how you're treating the people around you, how you're treating your community. It starts with you. I'm not saying everybody has to go out and believe this. I'm saying believe what's right for you. If that piece of wisdom sounds right to you, take it and use it. If it's not right, leave it there, because it'll be useful to somebody else.
Right.
But you have to know what's right for you.
Yeah, right.
So is there anything else you want to add? Is there any other things we should be aware of?
Those are the major things for me. I mean, like I said before, there's other planets that are in retrograde right now. And there's a lot of planets in retrograde right now, which may potentially be adding to this, scenario.
Definitely. Well, anyway, before we get any deeper, I just want to let people know that you can find more episodes of our podcast on our website, rebelcrowpsychicshow.com. You can also view it on YouTube under the same account name. Come check us out on Instagram and on Facebook at Rebel Crow Psychic Show. And if you guys have any questions or comments, we look forward to hearing what you guys want to talk about and what's going on. If anybody has any, metaphysical or esoteric questions, hit us up. We look forward to answering some of your questions and doing videos for you guys. Even if you just want to say hi, listen, I want to hear it. I want to know. I want to say hi back.
We've been in lockdown too long.
I know. I'm starting to get thirsty about it. It's like, please talk to me. All I do is talk to my children. I love them, but they're not that interesting.
Yeah, listen, another topic for another day, right?
Listen, they don't even know the classics. Nobody's read Moby Dick or the To Kill a Mockingbird. They don't get my references.
Right.
I love
one
them.
One day.
Anyway,
All right, guys.
Listen, if any of you want to check us out, I do readings, tarot readings, mediumship readings, spiritual cleansing, spiritual advice. My website is readingswithathenasilver.com. If you want to check out my Instagram, it's at athena.silver. I post a lot of stuff for like promotions, and I'm at a lot of psychic fairs. Anja and I usually do them, we go together, package deal and all. So, if you want a reading, I'm still doing readings. I'm also doing a couple of online psychic fairs. So if you're interested, check out my website. Check out my Facebook. My page is Readings with Athena Silver. Anja, you want to tell them where they can find you?
Yeah. So I do tarot readings as well. So you can find me on Instagram only, unfortunately, for the time being. It's at Anja River, ANJARIVER.
All right. Well, guys, have a beautiful rest of your day. I wish you abundance, peace on earth, good things for everybody. Treat your neighbor well, treat yourself even better. Check you guys out later. If you guys, want to hear anything specifically, hit us up. We're doing videos and we're going to be putting them out one a week. All right. Talk to you soon.
Everything Athena said. Bye.
Bye.